Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Aranya Bhattacharjee from the School of Physical Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Today we are going to discuss about the module Landau-Fermi liquid theory from the paper Solid State Physics. After studying this module, you will be able to understand many-body Hamiltonian, learn about symmetric and antisymmetric wave functions, learn about ideal Fermi gas, also learn about the characteristics of liquid helium-3, and also learn about finally the Landau-Fermi liquid theory about the weak interactions, learn about quasi-particles, and also learn about how applications of Landau liquid theory can be done. The principal problem of physics is to determine how bodies behave when they interact. In particular, in condensed matter, we are dealing with a macroscopic number, roughly of the order of 10 raised to power 23 particles, and typically hundreds of them directly interact with each other. This problem is commonly known as the many-body problem. There is no general solution to the many-body problem. Instead, there is a great number of approximations that successfully explain various limiting cases. Here we discuss one of them, the Fermi liquid theory. This type of approximation for a fermion many-body problem was invented by Landau in 1957. It was originally proposed for liquid helium-3 at very low temperatures. Soon it was realized that a similar approach could be used to other fermionic systems, most notably to the conduction of electrons of metals. In Fermi liquid theory, the concept of quasi-particles with an effective mass differing from the atomic mass plays an important role. So under the heading of many-body problem, now the many-body problem for identical particles can be formulated as follows. Consider particles of mass m labeled by index I equal to 1, 2 and so on till n. Their locations and momenta are written as Rk and Pk. The Hamiltonian then is given by H is equal to summation over k equal to 1 till n Pk square by 2m, which is the kinetic energy, plus the potential term V function of R1, R2 and so on. So here actually V describes the interaction between the particles. An additional feature is that generally particles also have spin. This is described by an additional index sigma that takes values minus s plus 1 and so on till s minus 1 for a particle of spin s. Thus the Hamiltonian operator is H is equal to the minus of summation of k by k going to 1 to n h cross square divided by 2m, and you have the del operator del k square plus v of, now here you have now additional index of spin r1 sigma 1, r2 sigma 2 and so on. The state of the system is described by a wave function. Xi is a function of r1 sigma 1, r2 sigma 2 till so on, and also a function of time. Particles having integral spin are called bosons. Their wave function has to be symmetric in the exchange of any pairs of argument. For example, you have this wave function which is function of r1 sigma 1, r2 sigma 2 and so on. So what I have done is that I have interchanged particle number 1 and particle number 3. You see from here that these indices have changed, the position of these indices. So nothing happens to the wave function, the sign does not change, it still remains the same. This is a very special property of the bosons. Now on the other hand, you have particles having half integral spins which are called fermions. Their wave function has to be antisymmetric in the exchange of any pairs of arguments. For example, I do the same as I did for the bosons. I interchange particle 1 and 3. So immediately you see I get a negative sign in front. Again, this is very special for the fermions, not for the bosons. So for bosons, you have, when you interchange the particles, no change in the sign. For fermions, you interchange, one particle with the other, you immediately get a negative sign. The quantum many-body problem is to solve the time-dependent Schrödinger equation. And what is that? Iota h cross d psi by dt is equal to h psi. In ideal Fermi gas, we assume no interactions, V equal to 0. We will concentrate on an ideal Fermi gas with spin half, that is S is equal to half. In the absence of interactions, we can assume a factorizable form consisting of a single particle wave function. There is xi naught, which is a function of r1 sigma 1, r2 sigma 2 and time t, can be broken up now into phi a r1 sigma 1, phi b function of r2 sigma 2 and so on. So it is factorized in form of the single particle wave functions. This does not yet satisfy the antisymmetric requirement of the fermions. Let it be the number of pairwise permutation in a permutation P. So what happens now is, because of this permutation, this wave function now is written like this. You still have the factorized form, but you have now what? A factor of minus 1 raised to power p, which basically tells you that this antisymmetric property. So how many times you have made this permutation? So if you make once, then you have a minus 1. If you make another one, it becomes plus. Again another one, minus. So odd number of times will give you a negative, even number of times will give you a positive. And this actually can also be written in terms of what is called as a Slater determinant. It is shown on the right hand side. I mean, the single particle wave function is written in the determinant form here. We can now see if any two of the single particle wave functions, phi a and phi b, are identical, the resulting wave function vanishes identically. This is the Pauli exclusion principle, which states that a single state can be occupied by only one fermion. The natural choice for wave functions of a single free particle are plane wave states. In order to incorporate the spin, we have spin up states and spin down states. So this wave function phi p up as a function of r and sigma is equal to 1 by under root of v, where v is the volume, multiplied by e raised to power I p dot r by h cross if sigma is half, and 0 if sigma is minus half. And phi p down, where these arrows indicates the spin, so up spin, down spin. This phi p down now will be 0 if sigma is half, and it will be non-zero when sigma is minus half. Here the plane wave vector k, or the momentum p, which is equal to hk, appears as a parameter. In order to count the states, it is most simple to require that the wave functions are periodic in a cube of volume v, which is equal to L cube, which allows momenta p, jx, jy and jz are integers here. So, okay, so the expressions for px, py, pz is shown here, which you see here that px is proportional to jx, py is proportional to jy and pz is proportional to jz. They are all integers. We suppose that the volume v is large. Then we can take the limit v tending to infinity in quantities that do not essentially depend upon v. And remember here, of course, another point, that the 3 dimensions that is taken to be the same, that is L. The energy of a single particle state is epsilon p equal to p square by 2m. The total energy in this summed over occupied states with n p sigma equal to 1 for an occupied state and 0 otherwise. So this energy E is equal to summation over the spin state sigma, summation over p, and the summation goes as p square divided by 2m multiplied by n subscript p sigma. In momentum space, this defines the Fermi surface p equal to pf. This is shown actually in this figure also. All states inside the Fermi surface p less than pf are occupied and the ones outside are empty. The ground state of this system with n particles has n lowest energy single particle states occupied and others are empty. Here the maximal kinetic energy of an occupied state is called Fermi energy epsilon f. We also define the Fermi wave vector kf and Fermi momentum pf is equal to h kf, so that epsilon p is equal to pf square by 2m, which is rewritten as h cross square kf square divided by 2m. And also, just on the right hand side of the figure, we show here the number of particles can be calculated as n, and this is the expression how it can be done. So this is something which we have already learned earlier. Now the specific heat of this ideal Fermi gas, the plot is shown here as a function of T divided by Tf, where Tf is the Fermi temperature, and the expression for the specific heat is also shown here as pi square by 3, and the density of states at the Fermi surface G at epsilon f kb square into T m plus higher order terms. We see that the linear term is determined by the density of states at the Fermi surface. At high temperatures T much more than Tf, the Fermi gas behaves like a classical gas, where the average energy per particle is 3 kBT by 2, known as the equipartition theorem, and this gives the specific heat 3 kB by 2 per particle. We see that at lower temperatures T less than Tf, the specific heat is reduced. This can be understood that only the particles with energies close to the Fermi surface can be excited. Those further than energy kBT from the Fermi surface cannot be excited and thus do not contribute to the specific heat. At temperatures T much less than Tf, the specific heat is linear in T. So now students, let us look at liquid helium-3. So helium-3 is a fermion because the nuclear spin is 1/2, s equal to half. Studies of helium-3 were started as it became available in large quantities in the nuclear age after World War II as a decay product of tritium. The two isotopes of helium are the only substances that remain liquid even at absolute zero of temperature. Now this is a figure which shows here the specific heat versus the temperature of liquid helium at two different densities. We see that at low temperatures the specific heat is linear in temperature. This resembles the ideal gas that we have discussed, but is quite puzzling since the atom in a liquid are more like hard balls continuously touching each other. Also, quantitative comparison of the slope with the ideal Fermi gas gives us that the measured slope is higher by a factor of 2.7. Now in Landau Fermi liquid theory, what we have learned previously about the characteristics of the helium-3, how could dense helium atoms behave like an ideal gas? If there is explanation to the first question, how one can understand the difference by 2.7 in the density of states? If previous question has positive answer, are any other modifications needed compared to the ideal gas? An obvious problem with the ideal gas wave function is that there is too little correlation between the locations of the particle. There is no correlations, in fact. The Pauli principle prohibits for two particles with the same spin to occupy the same location, but there is no such restrictions for particles with opposite spins. Thus, it is equally likely to find two opposite spin particles just at the same place than at any other place in the ideal gas wave function. Landau Fermi liquid theory talks about the weak interactions. In an ideal gas, the particles fly straight trajectories without ever colliding. If we now allow some small size of the particles, they will collide with each other. We have to consider two particles with momenta p1 and p2 colliding and leaving with momenta p1 prime and p2 prime. In such a process, the momentum and energy has to be conserved. That is, p1 plus p2 is equal to p1 prime plus p2 prime. Energies are also conserved. Epsilon 1 plus epsilon 2 is equal to epsilon 1 prime plus epsilon 2 prime. And the collision rate can be calculated using the golden rule. There is a Fermi golden rule, and this is a figure which shows here an illustration of various particle-particle potentials. So the A here is the potential between two helium atoms, B is the ideal gas potential, which is U is equal to 0, and C here is the potential used in scattering approach, and D is the potential used in perturbation theory. So you see the four different kinds of potentials that is illustrated in this figure. Consider a filled Fermi surface plus one particle at momentum p, with p more than the Fermi momentum, Pf. This excited state of the ideal gas corresponds to the excitation energy epsilon p minus epsilon f is equal to p square by 2m minus epsilon f, which is approximately equal to Pf by m into p minus Pf, where the approximation is good if p is not far from the Fermi surface, that is p minus Pf is much less than Pf. The effect of the weak interaction is now that the excitation energy still is linear in p minus Pf, but the coefficient is no more Pf by m. It is customary to write the new excitation energy in the form epsilon minus epsilon f is equal to Pf divided by not m but m star into p minus Pf. Here m is the effective mass. So we get a new density of states here. So the old density of states is slightly modified in the sense that the mass m is replaced by a mass m star. We now see that weak interactions can explain that the specific heat coefficient differs from its ideal gas value. However, the theory is valid for small perturbations, say about 10%, and is thus insufficient to explain the factor of 2.7. For quasi-particles, Landau made the following assumptions. First, even for strong interactions, the excitation spectrum remains as for the weak interactions. Such excitations are called quasi-particles. They develop continuously from single particle excitations when the interactions are turned on, but they consist of correlated motion of the whole liquid. 2. The quasi-particles have long lifetime at low energy. It should be noticed that Landau theory is phenomenological. At this stage, it has one parameter m star whose value is unknown theoretically but can be obtained from experiments. Quasi-particles. This figure actually illustrates spherical balls which are basically simulating these atoms, and in one we see in the center it is we have this V, basically showing that direction of this atom in the right direction, in direction of the arrow. Consider a spherical object moving in otherwise stationary liquid. The moving object drags with itself part of the surrounding fluid. Thinking now that the total momentum of the quasi-particle is fixed, this means that switching on the interactions slows the original fermion down, since part of the momentum goes into the surrounding fluid and less is left for the original fermion. Now, based on the dispersion relation, the group velocity is Vf, which is equal to Pf by m star, where again m star is the effective mass which replaces the original bare mass of the electron m. This means that the momentum of the original fermion in the interacting system is mass into the group velocity, or the momentum is now m divided by m star into p, that is the original fermion contributes a fraction m by m star of the momentum p, and the fraction 1 minus m by m star is contributed by other fermions surrounding the original one. The velocity of the quasi-particle is known as the Fermi velocity. Thus far, we have arrived at the picture that the low energy properties of a Fermi liquid can be understood as an ideal gas, with the difference that the effective mass m star appears instead of the particle mass m. In the following, we show that this cannot be the whole story, and one more ingredient has to be added in order to arrive at a consistent theory. A general requirement of any physical theory is that the predictions of the theory should be independent of the coordinate system chosen. In the present case, one has to pay attention to the Galilean invariance. That means the physics should be the same in two coordinate frames that move at constant velocity with respect to each other. To be specific, consider a coordinate system O and a second coordinate system O prime that moves with a velocity u as seen in the frame O. We assume to study a system of n particles interacting or not of mass m. If the total momentum of the system in O prime is p prime, then the momentum seen in a frame O has to be p, which is equal to p prime plus n m into u. Now the Galilean invariance requires that if one determines the state of the system in O prime at a fixed momentum p prime, it is the same as one would do in O with the momentum p. The ideal gas obviously satisfies Galilean invariance. However, when we replace the particle mass m by m star, the Galilean invariance is broken. The cure for this problem is that we have to allow interaction between the quasi-particles. Thus, we rewrite the excitation energy in the following form: epsilon p minus epsilon f is equal to pf by m star into p minus pf plus delta epsilon p, and where delta epsilon p is given by this following expression. Here Np is the distribution of the quasi-particles and Np superscript 0 is the theta function. Pf minus p is the distribution function in the ground state, where theta as a function of x is a step function and theta of x is 0 for x less than 0 and theta x is 1 for x more than 0. The function f describes the interaction energy between two quasi-particles having momenta p and p prime. The Fermi liquid theory can be applied to calculate several measurable properties of Fermi liquid. For example, the specific heat. For a Fermi gas, this was calculated as this expression: C is equal to pi square by 3 into G kb square T plus the higher orders. The effect of interaction is that the density of states is given by the effective mass m star in the expression for the density of state. So students, let us summarize what we have learned in this module. Learned about many-body Hamiltonian, we have learned about symmetric and antisymmetric wave functions, we have learned about ideal Fermi gas, we have learned about the characteristics of liquid helium-3, we have learned about Landau Fermi liquid theory and weak interactions, and we have also learned about quasi-particles and also learned about applications of Landau Fermi liquid theory. Thank you, students.